The diner smelled of warm syrup and old coffee, the kind of place where time moved slowly and regulars felt like family. Emily, a quiet girl in her wheelchair, sat by the window tracing circles on the table with her finger while waiting for her mother to return from the restroom. She loved this diner, its soft music, its friendly waitress, the sunlight pouring in, but today the air felt different. A group of teenage boys swaggered inside, loud and restless, tossing their backpacks on a booth across from her. They glanced her way with smirks that made her chest tighten, the kind of smirks she had grown used to in school hallways. At first, they whispered among themselves, giggling, nudging one another as they stared at her. Emily pretended not to notice, focusing on the plate of pancakes cooling before her, but anxiety crawled up her spine. One of the boys, tall and broad-shouldered, stood up and walked toward her table with exaggerated laziness. He leaned closer, blocking the sunlight, asking mockingly if she needed help cutting her food. Emily's throat tightened as she shook her head, wishing desperately for her mother to appear. The boy laughed and flicked her hair, making the other boys burst into crude laughter. The boy's behavior escalated quickly. He reached out and slapped her cheek, not hard enough to cause injury, but with enough force to humiliate her, to remind her she was alone and vulnerable. Her eyes filled with tears, and her hand trembled on the table. The waitress hurried over, shouting at the boys to leave her alone, but they shrugged, tossed some insults, and walked back to their booth as if nothing happened. Emily's vision blurred as she tried to steady her breathing, the shame burning deeper than the pain. The entire diner had gone silent, the other customers pretending to focus on their meals. Emily's mother returned moments later and froze when she saw the red mark on her daughter's cheek. She rushed to her, voice trembling as she asked what happened, but Emily shook her head again, not wanting to cause a scene. The mother confronted the boys, but they laughed dismissively, claiming she was overreacting. The mother, humiliated and terrified of provoking them further, guided Emily out of the diner and into their car. They drove away, the mother wiping Emily's tears while silently cursing herself for not being able to protect her better. Back inside the diner, whispered conversations began swirling. What none of the bullies knew was that the waitress, furious and shaken, had immediately called the diner's owner. The owner was not just a businessman, he was also a founding member of a local biker charity group that often rode through town helping disabled kids and veterans. When he heard what happened, his voice grew cold. He made a few phone calls, and within minutes engines began rumbling in the distance. The waitress peered through the window nervously, unsure whether she had done the right thing, but certain that justice needed to be addressed somehow. An hour later, the quiet midday calm was shattered by the thunder of motorcycle engines rolling into the parking lot. One by one, massive bikes lined up outside the diner, each ridden by someone in leather jackets, patched vests, and heavy boots. Customers turned their heads, forks frozen midair. The bullies glanced outside, their faces paling instantly as the riders dismounted, more than 20 of them. They weren't gangs, they were known protectors of the community, men and women with broad chests, tattooed arms, and hearts bigger than their intimidating appearance. The diner's glass door swung open with a chime, though the energy felt far heavier. The bikers walked in silently, filling the space with a presence that made the bullies shrink into their seats. The owner approached the teenager's booth, placing both hands on the table as he stared at them without blinking. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't threaten. He simply told them that in his diner, in his town, nobody laid a hand on a disabled child. The boys, their bravado melting into fear, muttered apologies and stared down at their laps. Another biker, known for visiting schools to talk about kindness and respect, stepped forward and told them a story about his own sister, who had been born with cerebral palsy and had faced cruelty all her life. His voice cracked as he described how bullying scars the soul more than the body. The diner was silent, every customer listening, even the bullies. The boys shifted uncomfortably, shame creeping onto their faces as the weight of their actions settled in. For the first time, they looked genuinely sorry, even if they couldn't fully express it. The owner made the boys clean the table they had thrown trash on, apologized to the waitress, and promised they would return the next day with a written apology for Emily. He told them that real strength had nothing to do with fists or mocking weak people, it was about protecting those who could not protect themselves. When the boys left, subdued and silent, the bikers finally relaxed, ordering coffee and laughing with the staff as if they were old friends. The diner's atmosphere warmed again, filled with a sense of restored balance. That evening, Emily and her mother returned cautiously, unsure whether they should step inside. But when they opened the door, they were greeted with smiles, gentle nods, and a small bouquet of flowers waiting for Emily at her usual table. The bikers had left it behind, along with a note that said, "You are stronger than they will ever be." Emily touched the petals with trembling fingers, a soft smile forming on her lips. For the first time that day, she felt safe again, not because someone had fought for her, but because someone had cared enough to stand beside her.